I think the game's changed in that the students, if you look at students that are coming through the pipeline, the expectation that universities, especially University of Technology, we would have mastered a lot of the technology and be able to demonstrate that this technology is in action. And I think that's where we fail. We're not keeping up with what is out there. The challenge is to try and understand what the suppliers and the manufacturers of all the software, what are they going to be put in front of the students, and what do we have to do to adapt some of this technology. And that's one of the biggest challenges for the knowledge managers, the academics, to be able to consolidate their knowledge and put it in a rich contextual form that is exciting for a student to follow. And that's the challenge, the palette of information to be presented in an easy, digestible way.
Sometimes I feel that the game is only changing because it's being driven by the large corporations of the world. We see the advent of Facebook, of YouTube, of iPads, which are all good social tools. But do we really need them in the way we do our teaching and learning?
There was once a scarcity of information which IT solved by inventing the printing press, and we've got the internet and IT today, which has created another problem of having too much information to be able to handle properly. And we can't know and remember it all, so all we've got now is the ability to recall and retrieve it. You know, there's a sea of information out there, and most of our work now is not so much looking for information, but filtering out the information we don't want. There's a level of anxiety, even unacknowledged sometimes, of just not being able to be on top of it. And part of it is because there's just too much for us to know and understand, and all we're left with is the technology to recall it and retrieve it.
I've been involved peripherally in a project up here called LabShare. It gives students access to physical laboratories remotely through the internet. I think we're already starting to change the way students learn. However, we're being somewhat impeded by lack of a uniform and high quality network infrastructure in Australia.
Users will often bend their tool to their own functionality, and vendors become unaware of how their tools end up being used. Changes will be made to the software, and that will break the existing use cases that users have defined for themselves.
The old-fashioned library, if we go back a few decades, was very much about hush and people sitting quietly and studying with their own materials. We now have things we call create space, we have collaborative working spaces, we have social learning areas, echoing the changes in education generally. It's about engagement and about people working together.
I think in the next 5 years what we'll see is seamless computing, so that we can shift from the tablet that we use on the bus to the laptop computer to the phone and have the complete context of what we were thinking, what we were doing available to us as we shift between all these different kinds of devices. In essence, those devices will become transparent to us because we'll be able to think more about the activities that we're doing on them rather than the specific devices that we have.
Universities as we know them were built around the media of the book and the lecture. And those are, at the time, those were the predominant ways of sharing ideas, storing information, retrieving information, and it's what our whole university system is built around. But those are no longer the predominant ways of sharing information or ideas or storing knowledge. And the new media that are taking over are changing us as well as the universities. And if we think that there's not going to be fundamental changes to the way that universities are structured and organized and conduct their business, I think we're fooling ourselves.
I think technology has made education much more privatised, much more personalised, so that now students are bringing their own technologies into the classroom and learning through that. And that means that the interface between the public and the private is much more blurry. So they're bringing their sort of their personal lives to their learning through technology. So it's really kind of blurred that distinction between work and study.